Dr. Grant Patrick. The Redheads, Unforgettable Grandpa's Fairy Tales. Chapter 19. The Last Stand of the Redheads. The sky above the Heartwood forest hung heavy, a peculiar metallic grey that seemed alive with tension, bruised and swollen as if heralding an ancient wrath. Beneath the canopy of towering trees, the Redheads stood united, their faces lifted to the ominous horizon. A storm brewed, no ordinary tempest, but something vast and uncaring, a force of nature that felt older than time. Dara's calm, steady voice brought them back from their thoughts. "This isn't just any storm," he said, his eyes locked on the billowing, crackling clouds gathering on the horizon. "This is the storm of ages, a power that returns once every 100 years, capable of uprooting even the mightiest trees. If we don't act, it will consume everything." Finn, the broad-shouldered warrior of the group, stepped forward, his voice resolute as his hands tightened into fists, veins rippling with the promise of his unyielding strength. "What can we do, Grandpa? How can we stop something so overwhelming?" Dara's gaze softened, a blend of pride and sorrow flickering in his eyes. "This storm cannot be defeated by blades or spells alone," he replied, his tone grave. "It will require all of us, the Heartwood tree, the spirits of the forest, and each one of you. Only together can we hope to save the forest." The Redheads leaned in closer, absorbing the weight of his words. Though the enormity of the task loomed over them, courage began to replace their doubt. They were the chosen guardians of this forest, bonded to the Heartwood tree and entrusted with its protection. If anyone could stand against this ancient storm, it was them. Dara gestured toward the Heartwood tree. "Form a circle," he instructed, his voice firm. "Place your hands upon the tree. Feel its heartbeat, its strength, it will guide you." The Redheads obeyed, stepping forward to lay their hands on the rough bark. Closing their eyes, they let the pulse of the ancient tree flow into them. A warm, soothing energy seeped through their fingertips, spreading into their very cores. It was as though the tree itself was whispering its wisdom, steadying their nerves and binding them together as one. A sudden, earth-shaking rumble interrupted their reverie. The first fierce gusts of wind roared through the clearing, stripping leaves from branches and scattering them like golden confetti. The storm of ages had arrived. The Redheads opened their eyes, their expressions unwavering. They understood what needed to be done. Liam, ever the tactician, quickly stepped into leadership. "We need to create a barrier around the Heartwood tree," he commanded, his voice unwavering. "We'll form a circle, each of us pouring our strength into the shield. Use your unique skills and magic to reinforce it." Roisin, her radiant spirit shining even in the growing chaos, nodded. "I'll summon the plants to aid us," she declared, her eyes alight with determination. "The roots and vines will anchor us and lend their strength to the shield." As Niamh closed her eyes and extended her hands, the ground trembled, and thick vines erupted from the earth, weaving into a protective cocoon around the Redheads. The roots of the Heartwood tree intertwined with the vines, creating an unyielding fortress that encircled them. Aoife, known for her grace and agility, scaled one of the towering branches to gauge the storm's progress. "It's getting closer," she called down, her voice strained against the roaring winds. "And it's fiercer than I expected." Kellen, the formidable warrior, gripped his wooden staff, which thrummed with the energy of the forest. "We'll face it together," he declared, his deep voice resonant and steady. "As one." With a resolute nod, each Redhead summoned their unique magic. Saoirse, as free-spirited as the wind, lifted her arms high, commanding the gusts to push back the storm. Clyanna, her bond with water unmatched, chanted softly, transforming the relentless downpour into a calming mist that soothed the air around them. Dara watched the scene unfold, pride radiating from him. These were no longer the eager young protectors he once guided. The Redheads had become true guardians, prepared to stand unwavering against even the fiercest of tempests. Suddenly, a massive bolt of lightning split the sky, striking a nearby tree with an ear-splitting crack. The blinding flash and subsequent shockwave nearly threw them off their feet. "It's too strong," Eber cried, her voice quivering. "How can we possibly hold back something so enormous?" Dara placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Remember, Eber, the strength of the Heartwood flows through you. Trust in it, and in each other." His words lit a spark in her eyes. Eber steadied herself, reaching out to touch the heartwood tree. Its energy coursed through her, banishing fear and renewing her resolve. One by one, the Redheads followed, placing their hands against the heartwood's ancient bark. Its magic flowed into them, uniting their hearts and fortifying their spirits. And then, as if guided by an unseen force, they began to chant. Their words resonated deep within, an ancient language that seemed to echo the very heartbeat of the forest. Their voices wove together in harmony, rising and falling like the wind. The heartwood tree responded, its bark glowing with a warm golden light that enveloped each redhead in a protective aura. The storm, sensing resistance, roared in defiance. Thunder crashed, and the wind howled through the clearing, but the redheads stood firm, their bond unshakable. With one final surge of power, they raised their hands, channeling the heartwood tree's energy into the heart of the storm. The tempest raged with all its might, lightning flashing, rain lashing, winds howling, but the redheads did not waver. And then, at the storm's zenith, a blinding light burst forth, silencing the chaos. The winds stilled. The rain ceased. The storm clouds parted, revealing the serene glow of the moon. The redheads stood together, breathless and weary, but victorious. They had protected the heartwood tree, their forest, and each other. Dara stepped forward, his voice thick with emotion. "You have proven yourselves, my redheads," he said, his eyes brimming with pride. "You stood against the storm of ages and emerged triumphant. The forest owes its safety to you." The redheads exchanged smiles, their hearts swelling with gratitude. They had faced an unparalleled challenge and had overcome it as one. As they gazed at the moonlit forest, a profound peace settled over them. They had fulfilled their duty, not just as guardians of the heartwood forest but as a family united by love and courage. Hand in hand, they stood ready for whatever lay ahead. For they were the redheads, guardians of the heartwood forest, bound by destiny, love, and a strength greater than any storm.